What do you think of your 2 days against the Saints?
That was great. Nice to practice against another team. Obviously, brings a little more juice to practice, and you can see the younger guys competing against different competition, a different scheme on defense, so different ways that people play coverages and fronts and stuff like that. So just more learning for everybody. But it was great. I thought both teams handled themselves pretty well.
So what do you like about Elton as a right tackle specifically there?
He's reliable. He's athletic, good length, intelligent. He has the right mindset, pretty much to play any position. But I think he understands. He's an intelligent player, so playing out as a tackle, you got to understand, how the rusher's going to attack you, the different rushers are going to approach you, and then what you have to do to combat that. So he's got a really good feel just for that whole game within the game. You know what I mean? So. And his athleticism to overcome mistakes and stuff like that. He's got good recovery ability.
We've talked to you about, with your young offensive linemen, not spreading them too thin, but also trying to get them ready to play multiple spots. How has Zach kind of handled the different things you've thrown at him?
Yeah, Zach's shown that he's a pretty smart guy, and he's shown that he can handle, playing tackle, playing guard, stuff like that. So we're just going to keep working him at both positions and kind of get him ready, and he's competing. He's doing a good job, so I'm excited about Zach.
How do you quantify the difference that it makes to have Elton come back to the offensive line as opposed to not having him?
Well, it just gives you another high-level player on offense, not just for the offensive line, but for the entire offense. And any good player makes plays. O-lineman, you don't always see it, but the way they run block, the way they pass protect opens things up for the other guys to do their job. So having a guy like him back, and then also on the field, his mentality and how he can inspire the other guys through his play and through his leadership, that's another big thing that he brings to the table.
So Adam, how much of your moving guys around is related to, okay, if I have Elton Jenkins back, then we can do this. If we have David Bakhtiari back, then I can move these. Or are you prepared, week one to randomly just pick the best five and figure out a place to put them?
It's kind of a combination of everything you just said. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, here's our plan. If we have David, here's our plan. If we have Elton, here's our plan. If we have both. And then what if we don't have any of them? Okay, now who are our best five? You know what I mean? So it is everything, and you really have to be ready for everything. And I think that's kind of what Buckus does a great job every day of just making sure these guys are in the right spot to get certain looks at certain positions and stuff. So we're still trying to sort everything out, and it's really good and really fun watching these guys compete because we got some good competition.
There was that day last week where you had Zach in at left guard in place of Runyon, and to my knowledge, we didn't see it after that. I guess what was the thinking that day, and are you planning on maybe sticking Zach at right guard, for instance, one day to see what he's going to do there?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to, especially if Zach doesn't end up starting, he's going to have to be in that role of, am I the backup tackle, guard, whatever it is. So, yeah, any of those are viable options any single day just to make sure he's getting the reps he needs at every position.
We've seen a lot of Yash play pretty serviceably last year at left tackle. We haven't seen him a lot at right tackle. What are your thoughts on him as a right tackle?
I think he's got to concentrate more once he gets over there of just like being able to flip his brain fundamentally on the right side, and I think that's one thing I'd like to see from him do a better job.
Does he have, for lack of a better term, the toughness or the ruggedness that you need on that right tackle? He's obviously a very athletic guy.
Yeah, no, he's got all the tools and all that stuff to do that. And, your right tackle is not necessarily your run blocking guy, and your left tackle's only the pass pro guy. There's good defensive ends on both sides that you're going to have to block, and so it's just basically him just playing with his fundamentals on both sides, and I think when he goes to the right side, he kind of struggles with that at times. So he just needs to focus more on being able to do both.
Adam, how do you think the young receivers responded to the quarterback's comments, the pre-practice meeting, just everything that happened in the last couple of days?
I think it's been great. I think those guys, the one thing, just being around those guys for the last couple months, they're all professionals. They're all very conscious, and they want to do a good job. And they've just, any information you can give them, however the message is sent, they've done a great job just like taking it and trying to put it out on the field. So I think they've done a really good job, and Coach Vrabel, every day is working hard with those guys, getting them to, it's going to be a process with those young guys, and this is really important for them, and I'm excited to see kind of how they grow every single day.
Steno, that's great that they've been that way, but like you said, it's a process. You've been a young player in this league, right? Offensive line, not the same as wide receiver, but do you have to, whether it's you or Matt or Aaron, do you have to factor in the fact that these guys, it is going to be a process, and yeah, you'd love them to know how to do all the stuff that Aaron demands, but it's probably not realistic to think that they're going to be able to do it right away, and then it's going to take them a while before they can get to that point.
Yeah.
How do you get Aaron to a point where he can appreciate that, because it's not like Devontae and Jordy and Cobb and those guys that he's been accustomed to.
Yeah, we kind of just like thinking about our wide receiver room last year, or this year, reminds me of kind of how our O-line room was last year when we had Josh Myers starting and Royce starting. We had rookies starting. So you've got to be really conscious of what you're asking them to do, but you also got to push them, you know what I mean? And that's the line you kind of go every day. So I think that's 12's response of, hey, I'm pushing you. I want to see what you guys are about, and we'll see how they respond.
What entices you about having Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on the field at the same time? Some of the things you guys can do.
There's all kinds of stuff. Obviously, both of them are really, really good running backs, and I love. They're each different, but they both have explosive ability. You give them the ball enough times, they're going to make some really cool things happen. And then you got their ability to catch passes. They can do multiple things, multiple routes. They both have great hands. So they're probably two of the most dynamic guys, that you can just be creative with. And it's fun as a coach when you have pieces like that where you can just be like, hey, let's do this week or whatever, and just really try and get your playmakers to rock.
If you go with more of them together on the field, even if they are dynamic as running backs, how does that change an offense compared to having more, verticality playmakers on the perimeter?
Well, I mean, Aaron Jones can stretch the field just as good as any receiver, and we've seen over the years him make some pretty good down the field catches. So he has that ability to do that. The one thing you always have to be aware of when you're putting those guys out there at the same time is just you don't want to rep that too much and get them tired, for the normal running back stuff. So it's usually something as you're game planning, you kind of keep that in mind where, hey, we don't want them on the field every single play, together. We want one of them on the field every single play, but it's just, something you got to take into mind.
When you do that two-spot drill for Aaron on the north and Love on the south, how different are those scripts? Are they different than you need to see for those units?
No, they're pretty much the same. Yeah, they're all pretty much the same. You'll tweak some things here and there depending on like, hey, we got more receivers up here and, so we have to do more tight end stuff down there. But for the most part, the scripts are the same. And I really like that because it gets guys reps. You know what I mean? Instead of just standing back and watching. So Jordan can get the same reps that Aaron's getting, you know what I mean, and running backs, tight ends, O-linemen, all that stuff. So that's been really useful. We've been doing that the last couple of years, and it's worked out well for us, I think.
Coach, Jordan had a couple of really solid deep balls, touchdowns yesterday. How has his performance been during camp?
I've been really pleased with Jordan. Not so much with that. I mean, that's been good, but it's just his command in the huddle, his command with the groups he's in. He's taking charge, and you kind of just really see him taking the next step. So that's been impressive. And then he just looks much more confident in the pocket. You can just tell he's understanding everything. Now he's thinking of, instead of just what's my job, now he's thinking about what the defense is doing, and he's doing a really good job. So it's fun to see him have success on those long passes and stuff. But I'm fired up for him.
Hey, Steno, I think you have twice as many tight ends as running backs out there these days. I mean, is that an indication you're planning on keeping a handful, or how you want to try to sort that out?
Well, it just kind of depends how many tight ends, how many receivers, running backs. We've been kind of banged up at certain spots. So, obviously with Bobby working his way back in, you kind of have to have guys to account for that. So I think it's just making sure we got enough guys to get through the games and practices and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we're going to keep the best players that we think are going to help us win, whether that be X amount of tight ends or X amount of running backs. So that's kind of something that's going to sort itself out as we go through this preseason.
Where do you want to see
You
Jordan?
talked earlier
What do you
about the pushing your young rookie receivers. How have you seen them answer that call? How have you seen them answer their quarterback saying, you guys have to step up to the plate?
They've done a great job. There's no flinch with those guys. They take the information, and you can just see it every day, making new mistakes, not the same mistakes. That's kind of what you want them to do. Because again, there's a lot of mistakes to make, you know what I mean? So let's just try not to repeat the same one. So I think they've handled themselves well.
Sorry, I've clearly lost my ability to figure out when I'm supposed to ask a question. It's old age. Where do you want to see Jordan take a step this week?
I think at the beginning of the game last week, he missed some easy throws. So I'd like to see him just right from the start come out hot and just make the simple throws, and then we'll move from there. But yeah, I thought he did a great job last week commanding the offense. We didn't have any pre-snap penalties or any misalignments really. So I thought it was pretty smooth from that aspect. So now it's just go out there, let it rip.
Is that number one offense progressing the way you want it to progress? Obviously it's going to struggle against your defense because your defense is good. At the start yesterday, you guys were going nowhere fast for a bit.
Yeah, I guess the one area where I'm still kind of frustrated with our offense is the pre-snap stuff. You saw it versus the Saints. We had 5 or 6 false starts, stuff like that. The stuff that we can control. I love our effort. We're playing hard, and it's just a matter of now mastering the stuff that's going to kill you. If you're playing a football game and it's 1st and 15, 6 times a game, that's going to be hard to win that game. That's going to be hard to maintain drives. So we just got to be cleaner from the functional aspect of just running the offense.
How do Dobbs and Toure block? I mean, has that been a work of progress?
It's been a little bit of a work of progress, just teaching them the techniques and the angles they need to take to go dig out safeties and stuff like that. But they're both willing. Every receiver we have does a really good job, and that's one thing that Coach Vrabel takes a lot of pride in, is making sure those wideouts do a great job in the run game. So, yeah, they both are very willing and do a good job there.
Time for 2 more.
I asked you, I love that new mistakes bit. Is that yours, or did you steal that?
No, that's a coaching thing. I definitely can't take credit for that. Yeah.
I use it on Sydney all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
It's great. I am wondering though, I don't want to pigeonhole you as an old offensive line coach, but is Jake Hansen a completely different guy than the guy we saw a couple of years ago? Because you've got him in a position where he could very well start for you.
Yeah, Jake on the offensively has had one of the best camps of anyone on our offense, just from taking that next step. I think his first year, his hip was banged up and he just didn't look right. He got his hip fixed and then has come back and he looks like a brand new guy. So he's playing with physicality. He's intelligent. He has the ability to play center, and I'm excited about him.
I know you don't like to compare guys, but could he be kind of your Lucas Patrick 2.0?
Yeah, he has the ability to play any inside position, and hopefully he does a good job in these next preseason games and proves it.
How have you seen Sammy Watkins kind of progress and then kind of keep building that chemistry with Aaron?
Yeah, that's been fun to watch, because Sammy, he came in and he's learning the offense. He's just trying to figure all that stuff out, and you can see him every day show up and it's hey, he takes the next step, and had a great week against the Saints. So I'm really excited about Sammy.